Good morning, everybody. Um, Hope everybody's doing well. I wanted to continue on here with Leviticus study. Taking a while to get through it, and I want to kind of go through this book. I'm going forward in more of things that are obviously spiritual in regards to the law, the fulfillment of the Torah and the Spirit, and what some of these things mean. Um, they will be, especially in 13, 14, 16, Leviticus 23, of course, and then 25. These are all real big fulfillment chapters in Leviticus for the fulfillment of the end time Melchizedekian priesthood, the millennial priesthood. They'll have a lot more information in regards to what these things are, especially in 23, which talks about the plan of salvation and essentially the three feasts that are ushering in everybody in their own order for the fulfillment of time. But I wanted to continue through this. Like I said to you before, I'm pointing out things that I have here and that I have understanding of. There's tons of stuff here that I don't understand, obviously, and I'm kind of focusing more. I'm kind of been going back and forth here in the Bible, but I'm focusing more time now on Ezekiel, looking at Ezekiel and looking at the millennial temple period and kind of connecting the dots, everything in regards to there to have more clarification for myself in regards to the millennium as we are getting closer to it. So I've been kind of focusing more on that, but I do have to get through this as I said I would, and I'm going to. I'm going to kind of read through this again, not line by line, but I'm going to go through what I have here for my notes that I've taken in my Bible of 9 and 10, and then we've already done 11, and then we'll get into 12 and 13, which is going to discuss more about, well, 13 and 14 is going to be more about leprosy, and that's going to be all tied into the lake of fire, which is going to be the cleansing and purification of all man, which is spoken of in 13 and 14 of Leviticus. And we'll go through that, and that's very interesting as well. So let's start in 9 here. So we've read here in 8, I believe the 8 was we're discussing about how they are going through and they're actually going to be the priesthood and they're being sanctified. They're having all their garments put on them. Just as a refresher for myself, they were putting on their garments, which is spiritually showing us the righteous acts of the saints, which is essentially getting your garment, your white linen garment, becoming a priesthood in the next age, a royal kingdom of priests. That is what the fulfillment is in Leviticus 8, where the foreshadow was Aaron and his sons being anointed as Levitical priests in the physical temple with the physical attire that they had on, where the fulfillment of that is going to be in the spirit, which is going to be in a glorified body, with Christ, reigning with Christ for the millennium, which is you're going to receive your reward, your crown, your righteous acts of the saints' garments, white and linen. You are going to be basically in a replication of Christ, part of his body, and going to look and act like him as you are one with him and Father. So here we have in chapter 9, which is I see it as the fulfillment of the 8th day or after the millennium, which I'm not going to go through the entire chapter because we went through this before in terms of what the sacrifices mean and what I pulled out of them. You can refer back to that in regards to what each things mean. But going through here, and it came to pass on the 8th day that Moses called Aaron and his sons and the elders of Israel. Okay, very important, 8th day. Okay, what's the 8th day? Well, we have the 7,000 years of man, 6,000 years they go. Man has been doing their own thing. 7,000 year is the year of release or the year of rest, resting in Christ. Christ is finally going to put forth the law throughout the whole entire all nations. finally man is going to be ruled, and everybody's going to know him from the least to the greatest. And now he's going to put the laws in the land, and the common man, excuse me, during this time is going to go under the law, and those that are part of the priesthood will be then administering the law from the spiritual perspective, and obviously the physical, but more importantly the spiritual, which is the fulfillment of the law in the physical. So here we see a very important time, the 8th day, which is the last great day of the Feast of Tabernacles, which is Father tabernacling with man, and God is going to be all in all. So this is what he's setting up here and showing us with the 8th day. And he said on there, take thee a young calf, okay, for a sin offering, a ram for burnt offering without blemish, and an offer them before the Lord. And unto the children of Israel speak, saying, take ye the kid of the goats for sin offering, a calf and lamb, both of this first year, without blemish for a burnt offering. Also a bullock and a ram for peace offering, and the sacrifice before the Lord, and a meat offering mingled, or a food offering, grain offering mingled with oil for the day the Lord will appear unto you. So we're getting everything here. Okay, we're getting it all here. We're getting all the sacrifices here, all of them. All of them are going to be done. Okay, this is the fulfillment of the 8th day. So we're still going to have, as I talked about before in Numbers, we're still going to have that altar that's burning. Which means that, he makes all things new, but he has not made all things new yet. So there's obviously going to be some stragglers still outside the city, or outside the camp, outside the gates in the lake of fire, that are still needing to be purified. So the fire that is not extinguished is still going. Okay, so there's still sacrifices here, and there will be still sacrifices, as far as I understand, until all things are redeemed, restored, and everything goes back to the garden where Adam was perfect, until iniquity fell in him. But so we have all the offerings here that are going to be done. Now, Aaron is going to do for himself, which is the calf. Okay, all right. He's going to take it, and he is going to start making the sacrifices for himself, for his sons, and then for the people. And this is making atonement for all man. Okay, so we can see here we're making atonement for them. Okay, with the covering. What is the atonement? Well, that's Jesus Christ. He is the atonement. He is the covering. And this is what it is. Okay, so you can go and read through this entire chapter yourself. I'm not going to do that right now, but it's just going on to talk about all the sacrifices that he's talking about. Okay, and we've already went through this a number of times, where we have the flesh, the skin is outside the camp. Okay, again, it's showing that there's still sin outside the camp. There's still sin in the lake of fire. And it is showing us this time and time and time again. And even here on the 8th day, we're seeing that there's still some stragglers, or still some of those outside the camp that are still not purified and rectified and cleansed to then enter into be all in all. Okay. What I find very interesting as well is, okay, so he's making the offering for himself and his sons, okay, and then he's making the offering of the sin offering, etc., for the people. And then he goes on to say here, okay, and Aaron lifted up, okay, this is all the wave offering, okay, which everything is being tied in, okay, Christ is the wave sheaf, okay, so it's all being tied in all together here, all right? And then, okay, and Aaron lifted up his hands towards the people and blessed them. Okay, remember, Aaron is a figure of Jesus Christ, the high priest, and came down from offering of the sin offering and the burnt offering and the peace offering. So all the offerings. Okay, this is all the offerings that we talked about up here in regards to 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and he goes, okay, and Moses and Aaron went into the tabernacle of the congregation and came out and blessed the people. And okay, so here, okay, they're going in, they're being sanctified. Everybody has now been atoned for. All the sins have been atoned for. The blood has been shed. Okay, the blood is now on the foundation. Okay, it's sprinkled on the altar, on the horns. It is now the sacrifice of peace offering. All of the offerings now that have included into the 8th day and in the 8th day have now been offered to God the Father. Okay, and here we have Moses and Aaron. Okay, went into the tabernacle, the congregation came out and blessed the people, and the glory of the Lord appeared unto all the people. Okay, it appeared on all of them. Okay, this is God appearing to all of them. Okay. And there came a fire out from before the Lord and consumed upon the altar the burnt offering and the fat, which saw when all the people saw, they shouted and fell on their faces. Okay, this is interesting because what do we have in Revelation? What is it? 19, I think it is. 18, 19. Don't quote me on that. Where at the end of the millennium, which is the end of the 7,000 years, what do we have it to happen when Satan and his minions, they surround the camp of the saints, okay, which is again pointing us back here to the Torah, which is the camp. This is what it's all about, is inside the camp, inside the city. He surrounds the camp of the saints, and what happens? God from heaven, what? He shoots fire down and destroys them all. Okay, this is in Revelation 19, I think it is. So we have a parallel, or we have a connection, or we have a pattern here. On the eighth day, which is what Leviticus 9 is all about, the last great day, we have God coming down and fire coming out and consuming all the offerings on the altar, okay, which is the same thing in Revelation, where he sends fire down from heaven and consumes and kills all the people that were with Satan and Satan themselves, and sends them to the lake of fire. Okay, so we have a pattern here, again, pointing us back to the Torah from Revelation 19, which is the third last book, or the second last book, whatever. I guess it's what, 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah. So keep on going here. So now we finished in regards to the sanctification. We went through Leviticus 1 to 9 in regards to speaking of the priesthood, speaking of the sons of Aaron as the Levitical priests, the physical priesthood, and the actual fulfillment of that is the Melchizedekian priesthood, which is the spiritual priesthood. Okay, so we have here in 9 the fulfillment of the eighth day. Now, Leviticus 10, we're doing a little change up here, okay? We're not going to go through this entire chapter. I'm going to, again, pick out things that are important to make the connection, okay? So we have Nadab and Abihu. The sons of Aaron took of them his censer and put fire on it and put incense on it and offered strange fire, profane fire, okay? Corrupt, okay? Falling away, essentially. Fire before the Lord, which he commanded them not. And there went out fire from the Lord and devoured them, and they died before the Lord. Okay, this is huge. This is huge. Okay, this is a huge study on itself. I mean, just this part here. With in terms of strange fire and what this actually means in terms of it being profane. Okay, well, let's just back up a minute here and have some understanding. We're going to find out why they did this, because they got a little tipsy, they got a little drunk, which what it tells us in 8 through 11. But what's important here is these two sons of Aaron, okay, Nadab and Abihu, okay, they were part of the first Shavuot, or the first Pentecost, the first up in the mountain with Moses and the 70 elders. So you had 74 people up eating and drinking with Christ or Father, whoever you want to pick. They were up there, and they were having essentially the calling up, or the gathering of the physical at the time, gathering of the priesthood, which is going to be a fulfillment of that, which is going to be the actual marriage supper of the Lamb, which is the fulfillment of the first Pentecost, or the first Shavuot, here when he calls his priesthood, and those are gathered up to him, and they are going to be on the top of the sea of glass. Okay, it's the same language. Okay, we see talking about how, I think it was I don't remember even what chapter it's in now, where they went up and it was like a sea of sapphire glass, and they sat and they ate and drank with the Lord. Now, so these two guys, okay, obviously high priests. Obviously, parts of Aaron the high priest, part of the Levitical priesthood, Clearly very important to God's plan for Israel, looked upon as highly individuals, clearly by the sons of by the children of Israel. They were pretty a couple of guys that were pretty looked upon for helping, for answers. You can imagine in today's world who these two folks would be, and how people would relate them if these people were actually in communication with God in the tabernacle, which they were with Aaron as part of the sons of Aaron. Okay, I mean it's huge. So here are these two guys. They just finished basically, you know, with all the miracles that they've seen, all the signs and wonders that they have been um, through this whole time of coming out of Egypt and in the wilderness, for all of this, okay, and then even them going up into the mount and actually eating and drinking in the presence of the Lord, uh, they still they still clearly made light of the situation. They never took their walk in complete sincerity and in complete truth and complete humbleness to the Lord and complete fear of the Lord. Okay, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, which is it's absolutely astounding to me. I can't even wrap my own head around how these two could even do what they've done here. I don't even have words to understand how they could have got to this point after what they've been through in their life at this point. I mean, it just goes to show our walk with the faith that we are supposed to have, with not even being able to have anything that we've seen. These guys seen. And they still fell. So it just goes to show you that many are called and few are chosen. Many daughters have done well, but you excel them all. And the gate is very narrow. I mean, it's just absolutely mind-boggling to me that these two sons clearly took it lightly and thought it would be funny. But remember, God is not a respecter of persons, and He's righteous and He's just and He's full of truth and love. So, um, but real love, not Mickey Mouse love. So, but here we have them putting profane fire. Okay, they just thought it was something to be funny about, which again, not understanding how that could be possible. And they were destroyed, or they were essentially burnt. And we have here, um, Moses said unto Aaron, that this is that the Lord spake, saying, I will be sanctified in them that come nigh to me, and before all the people I will be glorified. And Aaron held his peace. Of course, because Aaron knew this and understood this. God takes things very seriously. Remember, man's thoughts are an abomination to God. Our ways are not His ways. So He will be sanctified in anybody that comes near Him, and He will be glorified in all people. So, are we sanctifying Him when we draw near to Him? Okay, are we glorifying Him in everything that we do? Um, are we putting up spiritual sacrifices to Him in this age that we're living in? Okay, it's a very serious thing, and the walk in faith is a very serious thing, and you have to continue to overcome and be sanctified and set apart in Him, who He does the sanctifying and set apart when you live a life in complete obedience and love to Him. Okay, He will be glorified. Okay, He will not be mocked. Okay, because man is foolish and man is full of complete sin. Okay, so we have here. Then he calls, the uncles of Aaron. Okay, clearly he couldn't have Aaron come and the other two sons, which are Eleazar and Ithamar, to come and clean up their brothers. So they call the uncles of Aaron to come and actually carry them out. Okay, which is very interesting again. Okay, so they come and they carry them out. Okay, and so they carried them in their coats, of course, because they were burnt. They carried them inside the coats. And where did they take them? Okay, they carried them outside the camp. Okay, they carried them outside the camp. Okay, again, showing us outside the camp. Okay, clearly they're going to have to be refined and cleansed in the age to come, to understand that it's not a mockery, or it's not fun and games to God in regards to your actual walk in Him. And when you go and you take up His name and you profess to be a Christian in His name, it's not to be mocked. You are not to be a hypocrite. What you say you must do. That's all about your walk. Nadab and Abihu, they were out looking good in front of all the children of Israel, clearly, and they were looked upon as holy men, and ones that would be, in charge of the absolute walk for the people in regards to being the mediator to God. So it's no different than this age. We are those that are professing to be part of Jesus Christ's body and walking, talking people of the gospel. We have to be walking, our actions have to be completely in a complete oneness state with the Father in Christ. We are to be walking in truth and in light, and in true love, and we cannot be hypocrites, which we see here. This is obviously a part of it, where these guys in the front, looking real good, looking like they're holy and righteous, which clearly they did incredible things for the Lord, being part of the 74. But it's a serious thing to fall in the hands of the living God, clearly. And we have here that in 9 we have we have the Lord spake unto Aaron, saying, "Do not drink wine nor strong drink, thou nor thy sons with thee, when you go into the tabernacle of the congregation, lest ye die. It shall be a statute throughout all your generations." Okay, forever throughout your generations. Well, what's he saying here? Well, he's saying here clearly, Nadab and Abihu, well, they were a little tipsy. They had maybe a little bit too much here, a little bit too much drinking here. And what does it say? Okay, we have to remember what it says. The high priest, or the priests that are doing the holy things of the Lord, when he's in the temple or the tabernacle, and he is doing the works of the Lord during this time period, they were not allowed to drink wine or strong drink. They had to be completely sober. Okay, and sober is such a huge word, okay, especially in this age. Sober is not just about not getting drunk and being a drunkard. Sober is being completely in line with God, completely understanding His ways and His truth, His commands, His laws, being completely obedient in Him in true love and spirit. Being in a sobriety walk is huge. I mean, that's a study in its own in terms of being sober. And people relate it to, the guy that's got off the bottle, he's now sober. No, 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 no. Okay, being sober in the Lord, okay, walking in sobriety is huge. It's just not about you and I having a glass of wine or having a couple beers. That is not what is being talked about here in regards to this physical happening of them having a couple too many drinks. It's actually talking about taking your walk seriously, and not making a mockery of it and making an open shame to Jesus Christ, which it says in Hebrews, those that have the knowledge of the truth, there's no longer any more sacrifice for them, because you put Christ to an open shame, okay, because you know better, okay. And this is what the issue. This is the issue with the once saved, always saved. Your sins now, past, future, are all forgiven in regards to that. But continue on in sin. I mean, it's just completely blasphemy. But anyway, so here, do not drink wine or strong drink, thou nor thy sons with thee, when you go into the tabernacle of the congregation, okay, lest you die. We are now the tabernacle, okay, we are now the temple, and they both dwell in us, sanctifying us, cleansing us, our consciousness from sin, which I went over before, which is what Hebrews is all about. So we are not to be in foolishness, or we are not to be drunkards, of course, which is a physical, but we're talking spiritual now. We're talking about the fulfillment. We're to be in complete sober state of mind and truth at all the days of our life. Okay. And the biggest line in 10, okay, which is huge, which I won't even need to essentially go on anymore. After this, you can continue to go on. Um, but this is the most important in this entire chapter, which is what? That you may put difference between holy and unholy, and between clean and unclean, or unclean and clean. Okay. This is what it is all about. Okay. This is the job of the Melchizedekian priesthood, this millennial priesthood, those that are going to be married to Christ, however you want to look at it, the bride, the called out ones that are called, chosen, and stay faithful. Okay, this is going to be their job in the millennium, is to make difference between holy and unholy, unclean and clean. Okay, this is what it's all about. It is not about sitting down at the table and looking at your fellow man and saying, stop eating bacon, that's not good for your belly, or get out of the clam chowder, fella. It's not going to be that. Okay, it's not going to be that, oh, you better have your tassels on, or you better make sure you do not get out of your rocking chair on the Sabbath day. Don't even lift a finger on the Sabbath day, because that's unholy. Okay, it's not going to be that. All right, that is all a physical thing that was given to the Levitical priesthood for them to physically do it for our spiritual understanding. And even those at the time would have had some spiritual understanding of why they were physically doing it, but only a few. Okay, so this is what it's all about, that you may put difference between holy and unholy, between unclean and clean. Now let's just take a little peekaboo here, because I didn't even do it, but I want to right now and kind of just going with it. Let's put difference. Okay, let's take a look at difference. Okay, to divide. Okay, separate. Okay, distinguish. Okay, divide is the best word here. Okay, to divide. Okay, that you may divide between holy and unholy. Separate, okay, is good as well, but divide is key, because divide has a pattern to it. Okay, which I just brought this up now, which is even better. I'll just kind of free range it here, but the dividing, you got to divide the word of truth. Okay, what does it tell us? What does Paul divide the word of truth? Okay, distinguishing between holy and unholy, and unclean and clean. How do you divide the truth? Okay, because we have the world today where we have the Messianics and the Hebrew roots, which is destroying the truth about the Torah, destroying the truth about holy and unholy, and unclean and clean. Okay, they're not dividing the word of truth. They're not dividing, they're not separating the physical Torah to this spiritual fulfillment to the Torah. Okay, they're all going to go back and live under Moses' law forever, is what they're going to see. You're all going to be wearing tzitzits and eating bagels and fish for the rest of your eternity. I mean, it's just ludicrous. Okay, this is what they're teaching. You're going to sit there and shut your mouth on the Sabbath, and have just holy thoughts, nothing else. Don't tend to anybody. Don't look at your children. Just be complete in oneness, and just have complete holy thoughts. And don't lift a finger. Don't put the toast down in the toaster. Don't light a fire, because you're going to be killed. Don't do anything. Okay, don't turn your car on during the Sabbath, because you lit the ignition, which is fire, to go over to another Sabbath gathering. Don't do that, because you broke the Sabbath, right? I mean, you can't. Remember now, to these people, you got to understand, you can't do some of the law, not all the law. Okay, you got to do the whole thing. You can't be a hypocrite. Remember, you don't want to be a Nadab and Abihu here, which are, had the outside looking good, but then clearly they had some issues going on behind the scenes, and got drunk and went up to the thing and thought it was funny to throw some fire around in the altar. I mean, come on. Okay, so we have to understand, okay, we have to be able to divide between holy and unholy, between clean and unclean, okay? And this is what it's all about. It's a spiritual understanding of what this means. This is what the whole book of Leviticus is about, is being able to spiritually determine what he's talking about in the physical, what the Israelites had to physically do, why they physically had to go up to Israel 3 times a year for the feast, why they had to build booths during the Feast of Tabernacles. What does that mean? Why did they physically have to do that? Okay, why do they physically have to sit on the Sabbath day and not move, and essentially do all their work on the prep day, which is the Friday from sun up to sundown? Okay, so they can be ready for the sundown Sabbath from Sabbath to Sabbath. Okay, you got to understand why that they've done this, in the spiritual understanding. Okay, because they didn't know who their Savior was. They didn't know who Yeshua HaMashiach was. They didn't even know who the Messiah was to come. It was all about him. Okay, so we have to be able to divide between holy and unholy, between unclean and clean. Okay, it's about your heart. Okay, it's about your thoughts. It's about how you treat your fellow man. It's how you treat your family. It's how you run your household. It's how you can be an example to other brethren. Okay, not your works, but theirs. Their works through you. Okay, because you have submitted yourself in complete obedience to the Lord, in humility and lowliness and meekness of mind. Okay, this is what this is all about, that you can be a tool used for them. It's all about Christ. It's not about you and I. It's not about putting the tassels on. Paul even talks about how it was all rubbish. Okay, he talks about how it was rubbish to him. It's all rubbish. Okay, because the fulfillment, the spiritual aspect of the Torah is what it's all about, because it's all about redeeming and restoring all man back to the garden from the cleansed, refined, purified heart, a oneness in one with God. That's what it's about. It's not about a bacon sandwich. Okay, I keep going on about it because that's how stupid it is. And I don't use that word very often because I don't like the word. But it's a biblical word when you look at the words in Greek and Hebrew. It's actually, it can be translated as stupid. You know, foolish is stupid. Okay, so, but again, I'm not going to go on about this anymore. But this is a great chapter to understand what it is to be completely in sobriety, completely in sober state with the Lord. Okay, so. That's all I have for 9 and 10. Sorry, I went on a little bit of a rant there, but I do get sometimes worked up when it gets to the physical, because I was that. I did do that. Okay, I was the one that took the crumbs out of the cookie jar, or out of the jam. Okay, I was the one that threw the toaster out during the 7 days of unleavened bread. Okay, I was the one that would literally toss out loaves of bread or anything in the freezer that had leaven in it. I would literally toss out. I would be wasting food because I didn't want leaven in my physical house, because I thought that I was getting leaven out of my life. I mean, guys, I lived it. I'm not a hypocrite. I know what I'm talking about here because I lived it for years. Okay. And God has shown me the truth to this. And I don't have all the answers, and I'm not perfect. Clearly, I'm a complete mess, like most, trying to learn and to be in complete obedience to the Lord, that I may be, counted worthy to enter into the next age. And my heart is humble, and I try to give you the best understanding that I have. But anyways, that is all I have for today. We'll get into 12, 13, and 14, which 13 and 14 will be an incredible chapters to understand leprosy and what it actually means in regards to the plan of salvation and the lake of fire. So I hope everybody's enjoying their time off with their family, because I'm sure they get it during this time of year. So take care. We'll talk later.